Welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're zeroing in on something pretty significant, this potential economic shift, maybe a rebalancing between the U.S. and China.
Yeah, it's a huge topic.
And our source for this is a recent statement out of Washington from US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
Right, Besant's comments, they offer a specific viewpoint.
So the big question we're exploring, really for you listening too, is what are the chances? And, what are the hurdles if these two economic giants actually try to shift their focus?
It's definitely a moment where stated goals and maybe reality are interesting to compare, especially given how linked their economies are.
Okay, let's unpack that. Bessent mentioned this incredible opportunity. What does that actually mean? Rebalancing together?
Well, the context he gives is this idea of a global trade system maybe moving towards being fairer, more equity.
Okay.
And the opportunity is that, on paper at least, what the U.S. wants and what China says it wants could align.
How so? What's the U.S. goal in this scenario?
The U.S. is looking to sort of rebuild its manufacturing base, make more things at home, rely less on just consumption.
Right, boost domestic production, less buying from elsewhere. Got it.
Exactly.
And China's side of this equation, what's their stated aim according to Bessent?
Their goal, or the one Besant understands, is to shift away from being primarily an export powerhouse.
So less focus on factories sending goods out.
Yeah, and more on building up their own domestic market, their own population buying more Chinese goods and services.
Okay, so the U.S. makes more, China consumes more internally. That's the ideal rebalancing act.
That's the dream scenario he seems to be outlining, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of synchronized shift.
But here's where it gets tricky, maybe a bit contradictory based on what Bessent said next.
Right, data.
He suggests recent data indicates China isn't moving towards consumption. It's actually doubling down on manufacturing, leaning further into it.
That's the core tension he points out. If his read on the data is right, then China's export-focused manufacturing isn't just staying put. It might actually be, well, growing.
So, wait. Why would that be happening if the stated goal is different?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, it could be internal economic pressures, maybe global demand patterns they're responding to, or perhaps the transition is just harder or slower than anticipated. Bessent didn't really speculate on the why, just the what.
Okay, so let's follow that thread. If China continues down this path, more export-driven manufacturing while the U.S. is trying to make more stuff here, what happens then, globally?
Well, if China keeps pushing exports aggressively, it could, as Bessent implies, worsen those global imbalances he mentioned.
Imbalances like,
Like large, persistent trade surpluses for China. That potentially increases trade friction with other countries.
okay.
And it puts pressure on other economies that have to absorb all those exports. It makes achieving that greater equity in global trade pretty challenging.
So this incredible opportunity for them to rebalance and sync, it sounds like it's hitting a wall, or at least a strong countercurrent based on these observations.
It certainly seems that way from Bessent's perspective. The ideal path and the current trajectory might be
Diverging, yeah. It really throws into question how feasible that joint rebalancing is if China's economic engine stays so heavily geared towards exports.
Precisely. It highlights the difference between stated intentions and, well, the economic realities on the ground, at least as the U.S. Treasury sees them.
Right. So we have this aspiration, this stated desire for a more balanced U.S.-China economic relationship. But the recent indicators, according to this one key source, suggest something else might be unfolding. China's manufacturing role potentially getting even stronger globally.
Exactly that. The alignment Bessent hoped for maybe isn't materializing just yet.
So wrapping this up, something for you to think about. If one of the world's biggest economies keeps ramping up its focus on selling manufactured goods abroad, what could that mean?
Yeah, how might that ripple out? Think about the stuff you buy, the prices, maybe even jobs.
And what does it say about the bigger picture? About getting to that more balanced, more equitable global economy everyone talks about? Definitely food for thought.
Indeed.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.